I remember that night. The clock had just struck midnight. I was sitting alone in the kitchen, holding a cup of chamomile tea, listening to the soft ticking of the old wall clock that had belonged to my late husband. My son's fiancée, Emily, walked in quietly. She looked tired, her eyes red like she had been crying. She sat down across from me. We didn't say anything for a long time. Just the kind of silence that feels full, like there are 100 words floating in the air, waiting to be spoken. Finally, she looked up at me. And with a quiet voice that trembled ever so slightly, she said, "Rose, I need to tell you something. Something I've never told anyone before." I didn't know what was coming. I never imagined her secret would change everything. My name is Rose. I'm a grandmother now, and I've lived a long life. Most of it has been simple small town living, Sunday dinners, garden flowers, and sewing quilts in the late afternoon sun. I raised one son, Lucas. He was a good boy, kind and smart. He always made me proud, even when he was little and came home with muddy shoes or a scraped knee from climbing trees. Lucas grew up fast, faster than I wanted. He went off to college, found a job in the city, and then, he found Emily. The first time he brought Emily home, I liked her immediately. She was polite, warm, and had these caring eyes that reminded me of someone. Maybe myself when I was younger. She wasn't loud or pushy. She listened more than she spoke. And when she did speak, her words were thoughtful, soft, like she was protecting something fragile. Lucas was in love. And I could tell he was serious, because he asked if bringing her to meet me was the right thing. I just laughed and told him, "Son, if she makes you happy, then I want to meet her." So he brought her home that Thanksgiving. She helped me set the table, asked me about the recipe for my apple pie, and listened when I talked about how Lucas used to help in the kitchen as a boy. I saw the way she looked at him, the way her eyes lit up when she said his name. It warmed my heart. I thought, this girl will fit right into our family. But I didn't know then that Emily was carrying something heavy, a secret that would change the way I saw her. And change the way I saw myself, too. They got engaged in the spring. Lucas came to tell me in person, big smile on his face, like he was 10 years old again, and just won a ribbon at school. "Mom, I asked Emily to marry me," he said. And I hugged him tight, the same way I did when he was a boy. I was so happy for them. They planned a small wedding, just close family. Emily came over often, sometimes with Lucas, sometimes alone. We talked about flowers, recipes, and life. But sometimes, I noticed she'd drift off. Like her mind was somewhere else. She'd get quiet, her smile would fade, and I could tell something was bothering her. One afternoon, I asked, "Emily, is everything okay?" She smiled and said, "Yes, I'm fine. Just nervous about the wedding." But something in her voice didn't match her words. Weeks went by like that. Emily helping with wedding plans, being kind and sweet as always, but sometimes looking like she was carrying a weight too heavy to set down. I tried to tell myself she was just nervous, just overwhelmed. But a part of me knew better, there was something she wasn't saying. And then came that night. The night everything changed. It was late. Lucas had gone out with friends for his bachelor weekend. Emily stayed with me, saying she didn't feel like going out. We sat on the couch, watching an old movie. She didn't say much. When I went to bed, I heard her in the guest room, pacing. Then silence. Then a soft knock at my door. "Rose, are you awake?" Her voice was small. I sat up, heart fluttering a bit, and said, "Yes, honey. Come in." She stepped inside, holding a blanket over her shoulders like she was cold. "Could I sit with you?" she asked. "Of course," I said, patting the side of my bed. We sat there in the dim light of my bedside lamp, and I could feel her trembling. I didn't ask anything. I just waited. After a long silence, she whispered, "I can't keep this secret anymore." She began to cry. Not loud sobs, just quiet tears that ran down her face like they'd been waiting a long time. I reached out and took her hand. "Tell me, dear," I said softly. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." She looked at me with eyes full of shame and pain. "I've never told Lucas," she said. I've never told anyone. My heart tightened. I didn't know what was coming, but I knew it was something deep. Something that had been eating away at her quietly, day by day. She took a breath, wiped her tears, and began. When I was 21, I had a daughter. My breath caught. She looked like she expected me to pull away, judge her, or be angry. Instead, I just nodded, letting her continue. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. Her name is Lily. She paused. I gave her up for adoption. I didn't have anyone, no family to help me. No money. Just fear and mistakes. She pressed her palm to her lips, trying to steady her voice. I never told Lucas. I was afraid. He'd see me differently. That he wouldn't want to marry me anymore. Oh, my heart. In that moment, something inside me softened even more. This young woman had been holding this pain inside, alone. Carrying it through dress fittings, tastings, wedding plans. Pretending she was whole, when a piece of her heart was still somewhere out there, in the world, living as someone else's child. Emily, I whispered. You loved her. And you did what you thought was best. That's not something to be ashamed of. It's something only a mother could do. She looked at me, surprised. You aren't angry, she asked. No, I said simply. I'm grateful. Grateful you trusted me. We sat there in silence after that. Her head resting on my shoulder. Two mothers. Two hearts full of love and sadness and hope. The next morning, Emily looked different. Not lighter, not yet, but honest. And in that honesty, there was a kind of peace. She said she wanted to tell Lucas that she couldn't go into the marriage hiding something so important. I told her I'd stand by her. I'll support you. No matter what, I said. And I meant it. Lucas came home later that day. Emily sat him down. I stayed in the kitchen, listening to the sound of their voices, soft, trembling, sometimes breaking. There was silence for a while. Then the sound of Lucas's footsteps. He walked into the kitchen, tears in his eyes. Mom, he said, letting out a deep breath. She told me. And? I asked gently. He leaned against the counter. She thought I'd leave. That I'd call off the wedding. Did you? I asked. He shook his head. No. I love her. More than anything. I just never knew she was carrying all that pain. He walked back to her, and I heard him say, We'll find her someday. If you want to. Together. That was the moment I knew my boy had grown into a man. A man who knew love wasn't just pretty promises, it was truth, acceptance, and walking into someone's past with open arms. The wedding still happened. It was simple and beautiful. Emily looked like she could finally breathe. Her smile reached her eyes again. There were moments during the wedding where I saw her stop and look into the distance, as if she was thinking about her daughter. But now there was hope there. Not just pain. PLZ, like and subscribe if you are loving this. Life is strange. We think we know the people we love. We think their smiles mean they're fine. But sometimes, they're holding whole stories inside. Stories with tears, mistakes, and love that they've never spoken out loud. That night changed me, too. I could have judged her. I could have said it was wrong to hide something so big. But instead, I saw a part of her I hadn't noticed before, the courage of a mother's heart. Emily and Lucas still plan to look for Lily someday. They want to bring her into their lives with care. If she's ready. And I hope, wherever Lily is, she feels love. Not just from the parents who raised her, but from Emily, who never stopped loving her from afar. As for me, I sit in my garden sometimes, sewing or sipping tea. And I think about pain and forgiveness, and the quiet strength it takes to tell the truth. And I hope, I whisper, if anyone has a midnight secret inside them, they find the courage to speak it. To someone who will sit beside them and listen with love. Because sometimes the hardest truths bring the deepest healing. And the softest hearts carry the strongest stories. Grandma Rose.